Yeah, hi folks. Now let me make this as clear as I can. If you are packing a sausage and 2 meatballs, you're a man. And if you have something that resembles a cooked green-lip mussel, you're a woman. And now finally, the World Boxing Council has created a special category for transgenders, and by doing so has confirmed that trans women are not women. But no, that's not good enough for Raelene Castle, the woke CEO of Sport New Zealand. She's allowing biological men to compete in women's sports because it's all about inclusivity, except for women, of course. Now that woman has a very, very short memory. Just 2 years ago she was fired for going down the same woke road. Remember this?
Folau has reportedly secured a huge payday in his legal fight with Rugby Australia. Claims this morning that he struck an out-of-court settlement of $8 million. Today, Melbourne reporter Isabella Stashkovsky is across the details on this one. Isabella, the former Wallaby is now saying this settlement was a victory for him.
That's right, Tom, and he's also been issued an apology from Rugby Australia. This all erupted, of course, after he put a social media post out saying homosexual people were destined for hell. Rugby Australia, of course, at that point said that breached the code of conduct, but now they've had a major flip, of course, reportedly giving him this $8 million payout after he says he was unlawfully sacked.
And he was unlawfully sacked, which led to Raelene Castle being sacked as well.
The CEO, Raelene Castle, has resigned after the board made it clear she no longer had its confidence. The code has recently been in crisis. Here's a reminder of what's been going on. Raelene Castle took over the reins of Australian rugby in 2017. It's been a rocky road, including the sacking of Israel Folau, which sparked a prolonged legal battle. The Wallabies coach, Michael Checker, quit, which he blamed in part on his relationship with Castle.
Yes, I would love to stay on.
Not exactly tenable when you don't have a relationship with a CEO or a chairman.
There were some wins. Castle was central in recruiting the new Wallabies coach, Dave Rennie, beating the All Blacks for his signature, and she also assembled a formidable assistant coaching group.
We've been in a significant fight to make sure we got his signature.
But rugby is struggling to get a new broadcast deal, and now a group of former Wallabies captains and players have signed a letter demanding new leadership. This evening, Raelene Castle resigned. In a statement provided exclusively to 7:30, she says, "I made it clear to the board that I would stand up and take the flak and do everything possible to serve everyone's best interests. In the last couple of hours, it's been made clear to me that the board believes my no longer being the CEO would help give them the clear air they believe they need."
So she was sacked. And the gay CEO of Qantas, Alan Joyce, was also instrumental in getting Israel Folau fired. So in effect, he helped Castle get fired as well.
Qantas, our national airline, has been using its clout to push social causes for a long time. Its boss, Alan Joyce, was very prominent, for instance, in pushing same-sex marriage.
And he got pied for doing so.
Now, it's been 6 months since I've been here to announce the... the heck?
The business breakfast was well advanced when the grim-faced attacker dished up what he thought was a just dessert. Qantas CEO Alan Joyce and 600 guests stunned as the cream pie was plastered with clinical precision.
I might take a break for a second, guys, and just clean up a little bit, and I'll come back. I'm not a big pie eater. I didn't have a chance to test. I think it was mostly on my glasses.
Now, sadly, 10 News didn't explain why he got pied, but 9 News did.
A Perth man has revealed he slammed a pie into the face of Qantas chief Alan Joyce as a protest against the airline's stand in the gay marriage debate. The 67-year-old says he planned it carefully and didn't mean to hurt anyone. The airline boss says he will be pressing charges. Not just an outburst in a moment of anger, but a planned attack by this man. It cost $25.99 and came in the form of a lemon meringue pie.
So I went to the cheesecake shop late the previous afternoon, selected a soft cake so that it was least likely to cause any physical injury, just wrapped it like a birthday present, took it out of the box and put some pretty paper around it.
The man behind the pie slam on Qantas boss Alan Joyce at the Hyatt Hotel, 67-year-old former farmer Tony Overhoy.
I simply walked up onto the stage behind the screen. There was about a 500mm gap between the curtain and the screen, and sat down there, somewhat amazed that I'd even got there.
He says he did it to stand up to corporate bullying, believing Qantas's public stand on marriage equality crossed a line.
It would appear that Alan Joyce is very much part of a network trying to subvert the federal parliamentary process around the issue of marriage equality.
Last month, the airline, along with eBay, Foxtel and ANZ, threw its support behind this Airbnb campaign to legalise same-sex marriage.
Yes, I'm so sick of corporate wokies using their brand names to influence politics.
But could Qantas now end up in court over the sacking by Rugby Australia of superstar Israel Folau for quoting the Bible against gays? You see, last Friday, Rugby Australia Chairman Cameron Klein said, well, they'd had to sack Folau because their sponsors, and Qantas is the biggest, had made clear it would have dumped Rugby Australia if they did not. No Folau, no sponsors. But a company, let's call it hypothetically Qantas, that encourages someone to breach a contract could be liable at law. And Sydney barrister Jeff Phillips, senior counsel who specialises in employment law, said there may also be a breach here of Australian competition laws which ban things like secondary boycotts. Is any of this true? How much trouble is Qantas in? Joining me is Alan McDonald, Managing Director of McDonald Merholm, a leading employment law firm. Alan, thank you so much for your time.
Nice to be here, Andrew.
Well, how much trouble do you think Qantas is in?
Well, it'd be interesting to see whether they've actually been named as being involved in the contravention, because the law does not want external parties entering contracts of employment like this and taking away people's jobs. The whole purpose of the Fair Work Act is to preserve employment. That's its primary objective. That's why when Folau makes his claim, he should be demanding reinstatement, and he probably is, because we want in this country all hands on deck. Whatever your religion, whatever your political views, whether you're pregnant, whether you're coloured, whatever you are, that's the primary purpose of this legislation, I say. And what Qantas is doing is setting itself apart from that and saying, well, only if it suits us as the sponsor.
Yeah, but let's first be fair to Qantas, okay? So Qantas's boss, Alan Joyce, he denies that Qantas called for Folau to be sacked, but he did admit, and I'm quoting him here, we asked Rugby Australia, what are you doing to make sure we're not involved in controversy? And now Rugby Australia's suggested that the message in fact got was, if they employ Folau, there'll be no sponsor. So.
Exactly. It was a veiled threat, but a threat nonetheless. Now, after that debacle with Folau, costing millions of dollars and her job, Raelene Castle keeps pushing the same agenda. Unbelievable.
Sport New Zealand has today decided that transgender athletes should be able to participate in community sport in the gender that they identify with. They've released new guiding principles saying that athletes should not need to prove or justify belonging to a particular gender at the grassroots level. Raelene Castle is Sport New Zealand's CEO and she's with us now. Afternoon, Raelene.
Afternoon, Heather.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, are you worried at all about the extra power that transgender women will have?
Yeah, I think Heather, the important thing here is that the guidelines are designed to ensure that everyone can be included, and our aspiration is that all young people have an opportunity to participate in sport regardless of their background, or in this case, gender, how they identify with their gender. So there are a set of guidelines that will help sports look at their particular environments and consider how they can make more inclusive for athletes, but also consider how their volunteers and their sports themselves would be able to be responsible in engaging with a transgender athlete that arrived into their sport.
Right, that's cool. That is cool. And Raelene, we're all on board with inclusivity, right? Nobody wants...
No, we're not. Not when it penalises biological women.
Wants to cut other people out. But I'm going to ask my question again. Are you worried that cisgender women might get hurt in this?
The reality is that each sport needs to make its own decision. So if you think about the reality of the difference between bowls and rugby, for example, there's some differences in that, right? So the bowler people are going to make different decisions about inclusivity for transgender as rugby is and rugby has. So that's the helpful guidelines, is so that they can think about the base principles, and ultimately they are going to have to put safety at the front of that conversation and make the decisions for themselves.
Do you worry at all about, look, I don't even know if this is covered. Is there such a thing as amateur boxing that falls under the remit of Sport NZ?
Well, there. I mean, I think boxing takes a number of forms, doesn't it? I mean, one, it's exercise, and so people are doing it in gyms with bags and, that sort of environment. And then, yes, there is amateur boxing. Boxing have been quite vocal that they think that they need to take a slightly different approach from a safety perspective.
Which is, let's be clear, to keep transgender women out of competing against cisgender women, right?
Well, it's never that black and white here. I think that's the point, is if you're competing in a competition and it's, you've got a significant size difference and a different weight difference and strength difference, then yes, that would be a sensible approach to ensure safety is important. If you've got a genuine learn to box class, and everyone's boxing on pads and together and there's not much risk involved, then you would take a different approach. That's the point of the guidelines, is it's not one size fits all. Every situation might have a nuance, and that sport needs to think about that nuance when they make their decisions.
So, Raelene, are you worried at all? Because by establishing these guidelines, you guys have picked a side in this debate, right? And are you worried at all that there might be some codes who probably should lean towards the way boxing is and separate out transgender women from cisgender women, who will now feel obliged to put them all together because you've issued these guidelines?
Yeah, I genuinely don't think we've picked a side here. I think that...
Yes, you have. The mere fact that you've made these guidelines means you've picked a side. Now, I just love this video. The woman speaking, African American, I think, nails it.
We spa, so you don't. So it's okay. I just want to be clear with you. It's okay. It's okay for a man to go into the women's section, show his penis around the other women, young little girls underage. Your spa, we spa, condone that. Is that what you're saying? Like I asked, it's so he could stay there. He could stay there. What sexual orientation? I see a dick. It lets me know he's a man. He's a man. He is a man. He is not no female. He is not a female. He is not a female. Hold on. He is not a female, sweetie. Okay? Girls down there, other women who are highly offended for what they just saw. And you did nothing. Absolutely nothing. In fact, you sided with him. So We Spa is in agreement with men that just say they are a woman and they can go down there with their penis and get into the women's section. Is that what you're saying? What really? What law? What law? So women can go into the men's with their breasts.
Not a good example. If a woman went into the men's section with showing their breasts, the men would clap.
Okay. Yeah, you shouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't come back either. Yeah, get your money back. You got a man with his penis talking about he's a woman. He ain't no woman. Yeah, give her money back.
Are you talking about a transgender person?
There's no such thing as transgender. He has a dick. Okay? He has a penis. His penis is hanging out. Okay, no, I'm not one. Actually, I'm a woman who knows how to stand up and speak up for my right. As a woman, I have a right to feel comfortable without a man exposing himself, okay? No, you go somewhere else. Okay, so that's right. No, he's not a transgender. He has a penis, just like you do. Are you?
So I understand. No.
Yeah. Okay, it's not okay.
It's not okay.
Okay, that's traumatizing to see that. I'm a woman. I think this is a place right here, I'm told, only for women. So how dare you sit up here and tell me I don't have a right as a woman to defend?
If it's a transgender.
I'm telling you, he has a penis, a full and testicles. Okay, and I don't care what it calls. It's a man. You got one? You're a man. Okay.
And if we went into the men's section with our anatomy, that would be.
Well, it would probably, but you might not like women, so it might not. Okay, and we don't know. But for me and for a lot of other women, they do not feel comfortable, and it's not okay. Okay, so yeah, you're sorry. You should be, sweetie, and you're out.
Yeah, I'll say so. He's a gutless piece of work, this one.
Of alignment, and this is not right. I can tell you that much. All right, and I know you're out of order. Yeah, it must be hard. It must be hard not being a real man, huh? Try it. So, like I said, I want every woman get all of their information.
Security guard just said that is not allowed.
Okay, well, I don't care what the security guard. He's just security.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
Sometimes predators go down and we'll just go through the woman's side.
Okay, well, no, he's sitting in there. Okay, well, security.
No. He doesn't want to be.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying he should have not been allowed to. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, the world could do with a lot more women like her. In fact, a lot more men like her as well. It's time for people to stand up against this transgender lie that has been forced on the world. Just because a person thinks he or she is a different gender doesn't make it true.